This is Sakti Priyal, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce from Madurai Suvasinadas Pioneer Meenakshi Women's College, Puvanthi. In this video, I have discussed about the topic is the business communications. Communication. For decades, man has known the importance of communications. Today, with the various means by which one can communicate, it has become much earlier to communicate a message to other party. That it's several decades ago. Every organizations do matter what their expertise and where they are situated and what skill they operate realize the value or the importance of good communications. The communication for organizations takes place in the both within the organizations and as well as the outside the organizations. Therefore, it is the vital of any business organization to understand the communications models out there, so they can use the enhancing effective communication in the organization. This video have been covered in the following topics is like meaning and definitions of the communications, meaning of the business communications, nature or characteristics of the communications, objectives of communication, process or elements of communications, form of communications and principles of effective communications. Communications should not be interpreted as merely the sending or receiving the message. It involves a systematic continuous process of telling, listening and understanding. It is a two-way process and it's complete one when there is one. Communication is the defined exchange of facts or emotions of the two persons. Two or more persons, a process through which are two or more persons exchange ideas to create the better understanding and harmonious relations. Communication is completed when the receiver understands the message in the same sense and spirit that the communicator intends to convey. The various author defines the communications according to the layman author defines says that communications means is the process of passing information of and understanding from one person to another. The next we have discussed about the meaning of business communications. The term business communication is made of two, that is the business plus communications. The term business means all those human activities which are performed for making profits. It consists of the production of goods and service coupled the distribution of these goods and service through a socially organized system of exchange. According to the author C.G. Brown defines that the business communication is the process of message among persons which are associated with the business. It consists of the channel of distribution. Next we have discussed about the nature or characteristics of business. An analysis of various definitions communications reveals that the nature or characteristics. First one is that communications involves at least two persons. It's like a sender and the receiver. The sender send the message is known as the communicator and the receiver receive the message is known as the communicatee. The next one is the communication is the two-way process. It's essentially two-way process, not a merely means sending or receiving message. It is not complete unless until the message has been understood the receiver in the same message or same sense. The next one is the purpose of communications. The basic purpose of communication is to create an understanding. The receiver should understand the message sent and should respond accordingly. The next one is the forms of communications. Communication may take several forms like the order, instructions, report, queries. It may be the oral or written or verbal or non-verbal. It's a formal and informal. The next one is the scope of communication. Scope of communications is the prevalence in all human relationship. It is an essential in the all type of organizational at the all level of management. And next one is the communication is a dynamic process. It's the influence the mood of the thinking of the sender and the receiver. The way message is accepted depends upon the fact that which is the fine of the a response from the receiver of informations. Next, we have discussed about the objectives of communications. The objectives of business communications are the wide and large: information, order, permission, warning, motivations, advice, and rising moral are activated through the means of communications. The objectives of communication is the to exchange of information, to achieve goal, to maintain coordination and cooperation, to plan, to facilitate direction and motivation, to achieve efficiently. The first one is the primary objectives of communication is to exchange of information internally and externally. That is the deal within the organization and outside the organization. Next one is the to achieve goal. The goal of the organization can be obtained through effective organizational communication. Everybody tries to acquire such a goal, therefore it requires the effective organizational communications. Next one is that to maintain coordination and cooperation. Coordination and cooperation among the three levels like the corporate level, divisional level and a functional level of the organization are maintained through communications. And next one is that to plan. Planning decides what is to be done in future. All information and data which are required to make a plan for business can be obtained or gathered through communications. Next, to facilitate direction and motivation. The boss gives instructions or order to the subordinate, and the managers need to motivate their employees to increase their productivity. Hence, the communication has to facilitate direction and motivation. And finally, to achieve efficiency, communications can provide information record past and present. It also helps to anticipate about the future. So, communication increase efficiency of the workers by providing instant informations. Next, we have discussed about the process or elements of communication. The process of communication in the relationship between the several independent components. It consists of a chain of related actions and reactions with together result in exchange of information. In order to understand the process of communication, it is necessary to describe these components is like the sender and message and receiver or noise feedback and finally receive the feedback. The first one is the center. The communication process starts with the center, the person or group who wants to transmit the message to another person or group. The sender must have the clear picture in his mind of what he wants to communicate. The sender must identify, analyze and arrange the ideas before transmitting them to the receiver. The next one is the message. A message means what is being communicated. It may involve the subject matter of communication. It may involve any fact, idea, opinion, figure, attitude or course of action include informations. It exists the mind of communicator. The next one is the encoding. The process of conversion of subject matter into symbols, sign, words, actions, pictures, etc. It's called the encoding. The sender put his ideas or facts into words or symbols or pictures which the other person can understand for the proper understanding. So that is necessary to use a formal language or set of codes. Words or the symbols should be selected carefully, keeping in mind the purpose of communication and the need for the receiver. Next, the communication channel. The communication channel means the medium through which the message passes. The sender has to choose the channel through the message to travel from sender to receiver. A message can be conveyed by telephone, computer, letter, memo, report, face-to-face exchange or other medium. This is the communication channel. And the next one is the important aspect is the receiver. The person, group whom to message is directly known as the receiver. The communication process is not a common, plated with the existence of a receiver the message. Receiver receives the message and tries to interpret, perceive, understand and act upon it. And last, the decoding. Decoding is the process under which receiver translates the words and symbols used in the message into the audio and interprets to obtain its meaning. If the receiver is familiar with the codes used to perception is good, he will derive the same meaning as meant by the sender. The message should be accurately reproduced in the receiver's mind. And the last aspect of the process of communication is the feedback. After receiving the message receiver sends back his the response to the sender. This is called as a feedback. Feedback is the key element in the communication, as it is the only way of judging the effectiveness of communications. It enables the sender to know whether his message has been properly understood or not. The next one, this is the process or elements of communication. Next we have discussed about the forms of communication. Forms. Communication is the transfer of ideas and information from one person to another. It is the bridge of a meaning among people so that they can share what they felt or know. By using this bridge, a person can safely cross the river of misunderstanding of some that sometimes separate people. To make successful communication, there are different methods or ways. And the forms are they classified on the basis of some methods. First one is on the basis of expression is a verbal communication. The method or way of communications or exchange of the ideas, opinions, emotion is known as the communication medium. Keeping in the view objects and the utility of the message in different modes are used in conveying the message. The verbal communication is also classified into oral communication and written communication. First of all, verbal communications is the spoken words of the language communication. In other words, when the message transmitted by the sender to receiver with the help of words spoken or written, it is called as the verbal communication. The process of communication that use of common set of symbols between the sender and the recipient. Words are most accurate and powerful set of symbols. Therefore, most communication take place through the words. Verbal communication can be the preferred, and the verbal communication is also classified into oral communication and written communication. Oral communication using the spoken word through a channel or media in direct or indirect form. Then in the type of communication, exchange of opinions is done through the face-to-face communication or through some mechanical device. Oral communications takes place in the different ways of such as the personal talks, speeches, interviews, seminars, telephone talks, etc. In the oral communication, receiver also comes to know the body language to the sender. If the receiver cannot understand the message, he can also get clarified at once from the sender. Oral communication is speedy, save times, provide immediate feedback, and provides better understanding by removing doubts and their fears. The next one is the written communications. The exchange of informations in written or printed form is known as the written communications. This type of communications takes place in different ways such as the letters, memos, reports, notice, circulars and magazines, etc. It need utmost care. While preparing the written message, the choice of words should be done in carefully in written communication, and the words should be such as to be the convey a specific message. A handwritten might be typed or handwritten. Next is the non-verbal communications. Hence, the communications in the wordless and mainly facilitate the communication, facial expression, body language, and symbol gestures, etc. fall under the category. Your expressions often show the how you associate with the message. If the non-verbal expressions are under control, communications can be regulated too. There are several types of it. Non-verbal communications refers to the sending and receiving of non-verbal message. These are the body language, sign language and paralanguage. Body language. What is the body language? The study of message conveyed by body movements is known as the body language. Just as language uses the symbols to convey message, our body movements convey message, such as rubbing the nose of feeling tense, putting a hand on forehead of distress, raising hand by the traffic policeman to stop the traffic, etc. are the examples of body language. Body language helps to complete the verbal communications. Man may play with the words, but the body movements speak the truth. Then sing language. That is the method of the different signs, pictures, signals, colors used to convey the message. Signs can be the two types align the signs or visual signs. The next one is the paralanguage. Paralanguage is the tone of voice, pitch and rhythm, volume, break in sentences, etc. are used to convey the message. In paralanguage, we examine the sound of someone's speech. Voice tells us so much about the speaker, background, education and temperament. Clearer the voice is, more effective will be the communications. In the same way, stress on different words change in the meaning of message in every time. For example, in a sentence, you may go. If stress is laid on the word go, then it's so the anchor. With the help of paralanguage, mental situation a person can be studied easily. The next on the basis of organizational structure is the verbal communications, formal communications and informal communications. Formal communications. Under this system, the message flows according to a fixed or prescribed way. It follows the pre-desired procedures, rules, regulations. For instance, the regulations message for formal communications recognize the superior and subordinate position and relationship. For example, in the company, the employer and employee relationship, teacher and students relationship. This system ensures the flow of information is planned route smoothly and accurately and timely. In fact, this communication takes place between the position and not between the persons. The place is to be in a position, not to be a persons. The next one is the informal communications. The extremely general communicate without any hint of formality among the random people is termed as the informal communication. No formal organization chart is be followed is to convey the message is like an informal communication. It is based on the informal relations of the two persons. Body language is also used in the informal communication like to show anchor, to smile, remain silent, etc. It is the most flexible and speedy channel of communication, but this type of communication is the difficult to control and often of the misunderstanding. The next we have discussed about the very important aspect in the communication is the principles of effective communications. This communication is like called as the 7 C's in the communications. 7 C's means is the consistence, correctness, consistency, correctness and clarity, creditability, courtesy. And then correctness and concentrateness. Okay, the effective communications is one of the master skill to boost productivity. A communication is said effective when message will be received and understood the way we intended. A very helpful guidance to effective communication is given the 7 C's. The first one is the conciseness. The message to be should be arise to brief, concise as possible. Only the simple and brief statement should be made. This is the conciseness. Second one is the concentrateness. Concentrations are specified expressions should be used in the favor of vague and abstract expressions. The fact should be also specified. The level of message of the sender should be according to the receiver level of knowledge. The understanding the educational background such as the communication builds the confidence better the sender and the receiver. Then third one is the consistency. Consistency communication approach must have the excessive visual might lead to the confusions in the mind of the receiver. All the ideas and points must work in the tandem and form of an appropriate sequence. Such communication will minimize communicated barriers. And next, fourth one is the correctness. Correctness is mandatory to send the message in the correct manner. That is the must have to supporting facts, figures, examples, etc. This is done to ensure that if any idea has remained unclear to the receiver, He may understand it more clearly, correctly, and appropriately is based on the supply of facts, etc. The sender's ideas must be balanced. The most important aspect in the message conveyed. The next one is the clarity. Clarity is the thoughts of should proceed in conversation. The message constructed by the sender should be unambiguous, should adhere the simple sentence structure. This permits the receiver to understand the message with a little effort. The next one is the credibility. The above mentioned all the points prove the in absence of credibility factor, because credibility depends on the trust factor between the sender and the receiver. The sender should execute the confidence that the receiver will receive the message being sent by him. Similarly, the receiver should maintain constant interactions with the sender and display trust sender's credibility. So the last and important law is the courtesy. Courtesy follows credibility. Results beyond expectations can be achieved in fact. Diplomacy and appreciations of the people are woven the message. Courtesy in expressions are an effective and integral part of business world. Once the credibility of the sender have been established, attempts should be the made in a being courteous in expression. In the business world, being courteous can prove the way of success. Finally, I conclude my speech that the communication is the dynamic process that is often taken for granted. Failed communication can lead to many misunderstandings. Imagine if a pilot misunderstood the command given by the air traffic controllers, losing direction or missing landing, or even a crash is possible. Learning to master the skill of communicating efficiently is crucial to saving ourselves from big trouble. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you so much.